Barry, I don't think we got too many people chiming in on who won the debate last week, but I think you're
The poll results have you as the early leader.
you're gonna have to really come from behind here
You've carried
since you hate America.
you've carried 33 states thus far. I've only carried 2, including the District of Columbia. So you're in good shape. But no, you did pretty well. I think the only one that I was right about, which I feel bad, I was hoping I was wrong, was the Parker girls came up 2 shots short of a state berth. So too bad for the Vikings, and you would like to see them get through.
I would have been happy to be wrong about the Badgers losing
Right.
to Michigan as well, but they got that right. I got the Americans. You were anti-America.
Boy,
in
the
Ryder
Americans
Cup.
put on a show. Patrick Reed and the boys put on a show.
And I called the topsy-turvy Rock Valley North volleyball.
Volleyball, you did. Great
So-
match. One of the best matches I've seen. Edgerton coming back from 2 sets down to beat McFarland was as good as it gets for high school volleyball. Good stuff.
So, well, there's still some time left.
There is.
There's still a couple races we
There
gotta
are
wait
a couple
on,
things I got a
but,
chance to win. So
I feel pretty good about my start here.
Okay.
So. No debates this week, but we'll get back to talking local sports. So stick around with this episode of Extra Points. Hey everybody, welcome back to Extra Points. John Barry over here. I'm Eric Schmolt, and we get together and chat sports. I just remembered I also got another one right so far.
Oh, boy.
Didn't you think UW-Whitewater was going to lose? Didn't you call that?
yeah.
Yeah, there's another one.
And I think as soon as we left the room, I said they're not going to lose. I had to be anti. So
okay.
Good for the Warhawks. So good win and another tough one this week with Oshkosh at home. So we'll find out after 2 weeks kind of where the Warhawks are at in the WIAC.
Well, and I said that I thought the Warhawks were going to run the table, and really, if they win this week,
They probably will.
you got to feel
Yeah.
pretty good about your chances.
I
They
agree.
already took out a top 10 team in Platteville. Oshkosh moved up quite a bit
Quite
this
a
week,
bit,
I think, to like 6th or somewhere in that
Yep.
area. So another huge battle this weekend over there. This one's in Whitewater, so that helps probably. And Stevens Point, though, also ranked.
Not bad.
So,
Not bad. Yep.
But you get these 2 heavyweights out of the way, and if you can find a way to win both those games, you're going to be in really good shape.
At least, you probably are going to maybe lose one and still get in the playoffs. So that's the bottom line for the Warhawks, is a chance to get back to Stag Bowl and go against those feisty Mount Union Purple Raiders that, are there every year.
Number 1 in the rankings again.
I know. Shocking.
Whitewater number 2, of course.
Shocking, yes.
We mentioned it a little last week too, that they've gone with 2 quarterbacks, and I thought maybe that Chris Nelson had kind of taken the role after the
Not last Sunday,
after the last
Saturday.
non-conference game. He had thrown 4 touchdowns and pretty much led the Warhawks to that
Yep.
win, but it was Cole Wilbur who kind of led the big drive against Platteville. So still going with 2 quarterbacks, and I guess if you could make that work, most teams don't find a way to really make that work, but so far they have.
Yeah, and you can't argue. Kevin Bolus obviously knows that team better than anybody, and he feels like that gives him the best chance. But Cole Wilbur, they got Marcus Hudson back in the lineup last week, kid from Delavan, the graduate, and he's a difference maker because he's a big target at wide receiver, and he plays a key role for that team. And defensively, let's face it, that defense is kind of like the Badgers' defense. It's going to keep them in games, and that's going to be apparent all year. The secondary is going to get better. That's been their one downfall. But again, they held Platteville to minus 15 yards rushing. So that group up front's doing their job, and teams are going to have to throw against them. And not every team is accustomed to throwing the ball, and I think that'll work into Warhawks' favor when they play somebody that's more run oriented. And we'll see what happens.
That's the big game here this weekend.
It is.
Because you have no Badgers on the slate.
No Bucky until the Buckeyes come a week from Saturday to Camp Randall for a night game, and who knows? Maybe College Game Day will show up.
You sound a little downtrodden still about the
Well,
Badgers loss.
Not the fact that they lost. It's just the fact that, I'm glad they weren't blown out, but just chances that they couldn't capitalize on. And Hornibrook showed the collar got a little tight. That true freshman playing in the big house, and, as good as he looked the week before, you could tell that, he felt the pressure a little bit more this week and just couldn't get the line, line couldn't get any movement up front. And Clement, that running game was stymied, and some passes that were missed, a couple that were dropped, and even when it was 7-7, I thought we're still okay. We haven't played that well, and it's 7-7, but the big pass play that Michigan connected on, and then we just couldn't sustain anything offensively. And I think the one time we were on the the 35-yard line, we punted from their 35, and I thought if our kicker's there, do we try a 52-yarder? I mean, you just never know, but. Never really a good loss, but certainly a loss that, it only cost them 3 spots in the rankings. They're down to 11, and, You know, they're 4-1, and I think
Exactly.
you and I both agreed if you'd have told us we'd be 4-1 going in the Ohio State game, we would have taken it.
Absolutely. That's the kind of the silver lining
Yep,
there.
it is.
Like, well, they probably could have won that.
Yep.
The fact that they're 4-1 at this bye week, and you get, they get 2 weeks to prepare for
Yep.
Ohio State, which
They
you
won't-
probably need.
They won't get Beagle back, but they should. Some of those guys that are dinged up. Chris said the bye came at a good time, and let's face it, Camp Randall is going to be electric on Saturday night when the Buckeyes come calling. And if you remember the last time the Ohio State came in as number 1 on a night game, beat them. So
pretty fun, yeah.
Pretty good stuff. So let's hope it's deja vu all over again.
Probably be number 2. I don't see Alabama losing.
No, I don't either.
Ohio State certainly hasn't done anything to lose any ground to them to this point.
No, and they're good. Ohio State's the best team in Wisconsin.
If you have a chance this Saturday and you want to get out and see some college football, just get over to Perkins Stadium at 1 o'clock. And then you can save up for all your Badgers shenanigans one more week for the big night game next week. So around here we got week 8.
Week number 8.
Crunch time.
Crunch time. Some teams have already qualified for the playoffs. Others are hoping to get there this week. And some good area games. You just got to start with the 2 Janesville teams, both at 3 and 4, and both needing 2 wins in their last game to get an automatic berth, with an outside chance of winning one of the 2 and getting an additional qualifier. And I guess let's start with Parker playing homecoming at home against Madison Memorial. I got a chance to watch them last week, and I can tell you right now, coming into the season, they were the most overrated team ever because they are not very good. And
that's
give Craig credit. Craig played a complete game, played well, and got a victory, but Memorial was not nearly as good as I thought they're going to be, and I would expect Parker to go to 4-4 after Friday night.
Well, the reason that I agree with you, I guess, is that Craig's defense hasn't really been able to stop teams at all this year, and even the Beloit team had a lead on them and scored some touchdowns on them, and then Madison Memorial really couldn't do a whole lot on them outside of that early the big play right to start the game.
And it comes down to the line, and Will Jessup and Jake Ferguson are as good a wideouts in the area you'll find, but if the quarterback Tolman doesn't have any time to throw, it doesn't do him any good. They can't get him the ball, and that was the case against Craig. And certainly I think Parker's
front's got a feast on that, right?
I would think Vance could run wild against those guys, and I would be surprised if Parker didn't roll Friday night.
And defensively too, the line up front for Parker has been very good, and with Juan Harris and those guys kind of disrupting a lot of things in the backfield. So a lot of times it's been the run. This time it's going to have to be the pass, but I think they can get back there and put some pressure on them.
I think they're going to have to, But I think, I can't see Memorial stopping them. I would expect Vance to, like I say, run wild, and Ed Jacobson, and I would think Parker would get an early lead and just control clock like they like to do when they get ahead.
The other game, Craig at Madison West, kind of a little bit of a wild card. West has been they've had some weeks where they've looked pretty good, and they've been some weeks where maybe not so much. And you would think, with a lot on the line probably for both teams, that it's going to be a pretty good battle.
Well, interesting side note to that game, I found out yesterday that Carey, I believe it's Carey or Clary, the star wide receiver for the Regions, who's getting a lot of D1 looks. I think he's over 1,000 yards receiving this year and 9 or 10 touchdowns. Will miss the Craig game.
Oh, really?
Disciplinary reason. He was kicked out of the game last week. I think they played Sun Prairie, and he was kicked out, so he has to sit out a game. So West won't have their top weapon against Craig, which is good for the Cougars, and hopefully it handcuffs West enough where Craig can, again, just go in and play a complete game and get back to 500, and then you take your chances on week number 9 at Verona, and it's going to be a tough test, but hey, Craig is a chance to be 4-4 and have a chance to qualify for the playoffs in week 9. That's all you can ask for.
Especially with the tough start that they had.
And with how young they are.
They pretty easily could have just folded up shop and said, we'll work for next year, and they didn't do that. So you got to credit them for that.
You do. Credit the kids and credit Coach McCormick and his staff for, getting those kids to believe in themselves, because I think going into last week, it was a game I thought Memorial was better than they are, and I thought, Craig might go in there and come up short, and that kind of takes them out of playoff mode, and instead they go in and get a win, and they're in good shape heading into the last 2 weeks.
Probably one of the bigger games that we talked about before we came on the show here, Waterford at Delavan Darien in the Southern Lakes Conference. The Comets have already clinched their spot back in the playoffs this year. Good for them, but they get to test against a Waterford defense that's
and Waterford, 3-time defending Lakes champion. They've been co-champions a couple of those times, but still, the Wolverines in 7 games this year have given up 26 points, and 3 of their last 4 games they've won by shutout. So that defense obviously is as good as anybody's around, and their running back Mikulski leads the Southern Lakes in rushing. He's almost to 1,000 yards. But then Delavan counters with a team averaging in conference over 30 points a game. Senior quarterback Jake Benzing, 5th in the state with 21 touchdown passes. I think he's 8th in yards per game, 9th in total yards. He's thrown for about 1,700. So, kind of a contrast to styles, and we'll see what happens. Obviously something's got to give, and hopefully Benzing and Cesars and the boys can get it going and put up some points and force Waterford out of their comfort zone and maybe force them to play a style of offense they don't want to play.
Well, and even in some of those close games, the Comets have shown this year they can hang.
Yeah, they can.
The past years, if they hadn't put the points up, it kind of became a runaway the other way. Yeah. And this year, they've stayed in some of those close games. Now I think they've come on the wrong end on a couple of them against Lodi, against Badger, but
yeah.
They've been right there. So even if it's a defensive struggle, the Comets might still be in this.
And like you said, don't knock Delavan because they've been very good. Delavan Darien's been very good defensively as well. And other than one game that kind of turned into a track meet, they've been pretty consistent defensively. And I would expect a low scoring game. And 14-7, something like that wouldn't surprise me. And here's hoping the Comets can get a win and stay within having a chance of at least maybe sharing a conference title if Waterford could beat Badger in the last week.
Not a ton going on again in the Rock Valley. I guess Evansville, Albany at Broadhead Judah,
that's
maybe the big
that's
matchup.
The marquee game.
Obviously a big rivalry matchup for these two teams. Even in the years past where maybe their game wasn't supposed to count or things like that, they found a way to play a non-conference game, or they just make sure they play this one every year because they love the down the street rivalry.
Yep, got a chance to talk to Jim Mattias, the Broadhead Judah coach, and he said, Evansville Albany has just gotten better and better, and he said a lot of the reason behind that is because early on they platoon, which a lot of teams in the Rock don't have that luxury, and he said it took them a while to understand their roles, but he said Coach Grove's team made a couple of adjustments defensively. That's made a big difference, and then offensively with Brennan Banks leading the Rock in rushing, and then you've got Zach Milkey, a quarterback who's when he has time to throw, a lot of things happen good for the Blue Devils. So
Chase Katzenmeyer
Katzenmeyer
seems to 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he seems to find a way to score from anywhere on the field at any position and any capacity. And this is the Blue Devil team that I envisioned coming into the season, the one that I thought was still the best in the Rock Valley. Certainly Clinton is playing as well as anybody too, but those teams have already played. But I think right now Evansville Albany is playing very good, and I think they're going to be a team in the playoffs. If they get in Division III, they're going to have a handful because they're going to eventually run into Catholic Memorial or somebody like that, like they did last year. But you got to hope maybe if things turn out that Catholic Memorial will stay in 3, if maybe Evansville Albany can go to 4. I've been reading a lot of things. Janesville Parker, if they can get in, are likely going to be Division II.
Really?
Yeah, which I wouldn't be surprised if you see Janesville Parker at Lake Geneva Badger in a first-round game, and that would be interesting.
That would be weird.
Clinton,
right on the edge. They're probably either going to be the smallest school in Division 4 or the biggest school in Division 5. It looks like. I mean, they're pretty much right on that line.
And right now, according to WISP Prep, they've got Clinton in Division 5, which Jim Mattias said the same thing, and other coaches have said the same thing. Not a team you want to play in the playoffs, especially with the no huddle. If you don't have time to prepare for it, it's going to give you all kinds of trouble. And athletically, Clinton is so stacked with so many good athletes that just are difference makers in that offense. You got to pick your poison, and it's tough to do because there's so many different weapons and so many things at Coach Spivak's disposal that they're a hard team to prepare for.
The other matchup I look at is East Troy and Turner, just because these are two teams that are battling for a playoff spot. Turner really, really dinged up. Probably, I would guess like 5 of their top 10 athletes have been hurt or are hurt right now, and that has really kind of crippled them. It's going to be tough, but they need this one if they're going to make some noise. Probably does it for the football side of things. Volleyball conference season's kind of wrapping up here. We'll see how that thing all shakes out. And then you mentioned golf in the preview. Congrats to the Milton golfers who will play at State Monday and Tuesday.
Right.
Back for the 6th time in 7 years, I believe.
And you talked about in the debate about a possibly a top 2 finish for the Redhawks, and certainly Middleton and Arrowhead are going to be tough, but it's a 2-day tournament. It's a course that those girls know, and Mia Seaman gets hot. She could carry that team to a top 2 finish. There's no question about that.
Well, I think the thing is they get to go in and not feel. They shouldn't feel a whole lot of pressure.
No,
they're not expected to win this year. So you can go in and maybe, hopefully, take a deep breath and play. Nobody's expecting you to go wild, so just go out and play some golf. And if that happens and some things start falling into place, all of a sudden you're right in the mix, maybe.
Right, and they were 338 at the sectional. Probably looking at, you probably got to have back-to-back rounds at about 320, 325.
And I think that course was the longest course Milton has played all year.
Yep.
Kirk Williams said it was and it was even longer because it was very wet.
Wet, yeah.
Also, it took them literally like 6.5 hours to play a round of golf, and I couldn't believe it.
No, that's what happens sometimes, and
they made the turn in like 3 hours and 15 minutes.
And there really isn't much you can do if the course is, if you're not familiar with it, and course management sometimes comes into it. But if you're losing golf balls left and right, and kids get into trouble. I mean, I've been around boys and girls where it seems like it's forever, and you just think, my goodness, are there any shots left?
Brutal.
Yeah.
But the other thing for Milton, I think, we'll know in the first few holes if they're going to be in it or not. They didn't start very well at sectionals, Coach Whelan told me, and number 1 at University Ridge isn't necessarily super easy. Number 2 is kind of a weird hole.
Yep.
You got to get off to a good start there. You can't win the tournament in the first 5 holes, but you can shoot your way out of it.
Yeah,
pretty
you
quickly
could lose
because you're probably not going to come back on a Middleton team.
No, and the thing is and for Milton, it's going to come down to those 3, 4, and 5 kids, because you expect, your top 2 kids, Seaman and
Taylor Hockala,
that they're going to be consistent, and they'll be, in the 70s, low 80s, something like that. Hopefully, maybe they can put a better round together. But it's what your 3, 4, and 5 kids do that give you a chance. You can't have a couple of them balloon, or like you said, you take yourself right out of contention.
Probably should mention cross country as well. Nate Farrell
just
decided to run his feet off this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and Nate Farrell's a kid that Brian Lawton, the coach at Craig, told me that when he gets to college and he concentrates on one sport, because Nate's an outstanding wrestler as well, he said when they get him into one sport and he's putting in 60, 70 miles a week, he said he's got a chance to be special. And he broke a long-standing, not long-standing, but a Craig course record or school record that when you talk about Josh Lund and Tommy Meester and Spencer Rixey and the guys that they've had come through that program, Nate Farrell now sits at the top at
what was it,
15, 14, I think it was, something like that.
Good grief.
I mean, he shattered the course record over there by almost 27 seconds. And Farrell's a kid that got 4th at the Midwest against Finn Gessner, who's probably the best runner in the state.
What did he run that in?
He ran the Midwest, and I think it was 15-18, something like that. Yeah.
I think that was kind of a statement, like, hey, if I have my best
here.
day,
yeah,
I can be there.
Right, and he wouldn't see him until the state meet anyway, because I don't think La Follette's in Craig's sectional. So, hats off to him, and hats off to the girls led by Peyton Sippy. They were second. Both teams are now ranked in the top 15 in the state, and it's kind of what we've come to expect from Craig Cross Country. That program with Jessica and Brian Lawton has just been so steady and so good, and this year's no different.
Also keep an eye on some tennis, and what else am I missing?
Swim will start wrapping up, and soccer is, soccer's getting to that point.
Conference season here. Probably should talk a little Packers coming off the bye week. Still a game behind the Vikings. Another night game.
Another night game with the Giants. And the Giants, obviously Minnesota's defense played well Monday night, but, with Odell Beckham Jr., I don't know what he's doing. He's
kind of lost his mind a little bit.
He's kind of on an island. I don't know what he's doing.
They've played some pretty good defenses. Minnesota's defense is very good.
Yeah.
And the Giants have some pretty good passing weapons, so it's going to be interesting to see if the Packers, 1, are going to have their full complement back in the secondary again, and 2, if they can handle, they have Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz, and Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, they've got a pretty good.
They do, and
pretty good
and it's still a Super Bowl champion quarterback in Eli Manning. So I mean, it's there. It's just that the Giants, their run game, I think they were on their 3rd or 4th string running back.
Right.
I don't know if Rashad Jennings will be back this week or not, but certainly for Green Bay, coming off such a great performance against Detroit, that you hope you can build off of that. Rodgers looked like the Rodgers of old, and it's a case of continue to build and just take it a week at a time. And I think Green Bay's in good shape. I think whether they end up winning that division or not, they're certainly, I think, playoff bound.
I mean, the NFC looks horrible.
Horrible, yeah.
So I mean, the 3 of us in this room and like 8 other people could probably get together and make a run at the
we
playoffs
could,
in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, I agree. And, I mean, it's
Even the Saints aren't out of it yet, even though
No.
I know I went back on my pick last week.
Yeah,
They're not out of it.
but still, it's. I mean, even watching Pittsburgh on Sunday with all their weapons back, I mean, they're going to be good. But I agree, the NFC is wide open.
And the AFC looks pretty good. And Brady comes back this week for the Patriots. Like
Yep.
you mentioned, the Steelers. Broncos are always going to be interesting because that defense is crazy.
It's so good,
I don't know who's going to be the quarterback, but
Yeah,
it doesn't seem to matter.
No, it's week 5, but it's I think there's a lot we've learned, and we've learned that the Bears and Lions aren't very good.
No.
And
The Vikings are better than we thought they'd
yeah,
be, especially
the
without
Eagles.
Bridgewater.
Maybe they're they may come back down to earth, but I don't think anybody in that division scares anybody. And certainly out west, Seattle, Arizona's 1-3. Carolina's 1-3.
Not so scary.
No, it's not.
Probably as we thought.
And both the quarterbacks there are concussed, so who knows what's going to happen. But it's the NFL. It's what we've come to expect, and a lot of season left.
Anything else on your mind?
I don't think so.
Probably
no.
should grab that broom there.
That broom, yeah, sweep.
Yeah, the Jets had another one over
Jets.
the weekend. So
Could they score more goals possibly? Good Lord, light the lamp.
pretty much everyone's scoring. They're like 7-1. You couldn't ask for a much better start.
No,
I know
and,
we've only got that means we got 52 games left in the season.
They
so
got a
all
rare
early here,
Thursday-Friday series this week.
But
they play Minnesota Magicians Thursday and Friday night instead of Friday and Saturday. So and that's on the road. That's in Minnesota.
yeah,
so
they're off on the road this week.
Yep.
It's been the Jets who've been magical this year.
They have been
like that for a
magical.
transition.
They'll make the Magicians disappear.
That's all we got for this week.
That's it. No more. No mas.
You know, if you want to leave a comment,
Yeah, please do.
you can do that. Send us sports@gazetteextra.com or find us on YouTube or iTunes or Twitter.
Facebook, whatever.
You can find us.
GazetteExtra.com. Find us anywhere.
We're out there.
We're out there.
There's plenty of places.
We're out there, Jerry.
Thanks to Vaughn for producing the show,
As
Kevin
usual.
McLeod for the tunes, and we'll be back here, and hopefully the Warhawks will be undefeated still when we sit back
Right.
here next week.
Go Bucky.